This is Alex. I'm here shooting an OCD video today to hopefully help some people out there. I came up with this interesting 4-step process recently. So, the average mindset, from what I gather of a person who comes into contact with a negative thought, is that they just have it pop in, and then it either just fades away because they're indifferent and don't care, they don't think anything of it, just fades out, or they pivot into a positive thought that they distract themselves with, something like that. So that would be the end goal that would be most comfortable to reach. The 4 steps are to reframe your identity. Step 2, to slide up slowly on the emotional spectrum. 3, to meditate. And 4, to just get daily life habits that are healthy and good for your mind. Right, so I'll explain what each of these are. So reframing your identity basically is more about understanding certain things as a foundation, first of all, as in your thoughts are not all who you are. Thoughts are just random things that pop in your head. Your true identity is a life presence inside of you who discerns what they like and don't. Those thoughts, you don't have to absorb them with who you are already. So you don't have to feel guilty for every thought that pops in. That's not who you are as a person. Who you are is underneath that. And basically, as far as your identity, you don't have to identify with the OCD label. I would recommend not doing that because it's just going to be a crutch and a bad focus. The diagnosis is just unnecessary. A healthier, positive perspective would be more like viewing yourself as a normal person who's going to overcome this, and just realizing you're a normal person just like everyone else, only you're more sensitive to your own emotions and reactions, and you're just in this process of learning how to observe, interpret, and release thoughts at more varying degrees, like the average kind of person. It's no big deal. You're just finding out how to tune your observation of a thought down to less feelings involved, if that makes sense. So the goal is to be able to observe a thought and not have an intense reaction to it, or intense rejection, to just be able to observe it, right? And as a more positive way to view yourself in light of this issue, whatever, you could just realize that the sensitivity isn't always bad. It could be a good thing to be proud of. You're just greater with your introspective intelligence and emotional intelligence, and this can actually help you more in life. And as in, you'll be able to understand yourself better and have the potential to become happier than a person who doesn't understand what they're thinking and why they're thinking it. And you'll have a greater capacity to know what you want. And this means you're just not content with what you're given. You're more of a dreamer, to be able to realize what you want and what you like in life and expect from it. So just know that you can overcome this, and that you are just a normal person. It's okay to feel these feelings. You don't have OCD. That's the foundation I would spin off of. That helped me personally. So step 2, sliding up the emotional scale. Basically, this is based on something called an emotional guidance scale, where it goes from top good feelings to bottom bad feelings. So an example of this would be the bottom would start out with fear, then it would go up to lesser passionate feelings like anger, worry, pessimism. Bored is like the middle line, and then you start getting to more exciting thoughts like content, optimism, and joy at the top, right? So that's like the emotional guidance scale, and the point is that it's hard to get from one bad feeling of the spectrum all the way to jump to extreme joy, the other side of the spectrum. When you're trying to resolve any kind of emotions, it's It's much easier to just slide from something like fear to worry to bored to content. It's easier to just get softer and softer with more and more believable thoughts than it is to transition from complete negative to a believable, complete positive thought, right? So my example of something that I'm going to just use for this video continuously would be self-esteem, because that's a common problem. And let's just go with the obsession that you don't like what you see when you look in the mirror, and your compulsion is to just keep looking in the mirror or something. That was something that I had to do, and so I have experience with it I can talk about. But I've had lots of other different types of OCD examples, whatever. So basically, the emotional spectrum, you want to travel from soft thoughts, softer thoughts, and get happier. So what I would say to myself if I had a negative thought about my image or whatever is I would say things like, there's a thought, or it's just a thought, or I'm back, as in like back to the present moment, ignoring whatever that was. And thoughts are like books in a library. I just picked up a wrong book and was sloppy. This doesn't make me a bad person. There's another thing you could say if that helps. Or, let's not think about this just for today. Or, I'll just think about that tomorrow. But the point is, you keep saying that every day so you don't think about it. And if it helps, and you have like a lot of different thoughts that are negative, you can just write them down to address them at a different time. That's something that I had to do because it was just a massive amounts of constant obsessions that were various, and so I couldn't keep track of them. I wrote them down. I'll be like, oh, I'll just consider these things later, and I kept putting it off and off and off, and it eventually just disappeared because I kept getting used to ignoring it and letting it fade out. Another thing is, you could just be like, what would I love to do right now? There's a nice distracting, softer thought. Or another thing you could do that would be a more relaxing kind of transition of thought would be staring at different things that make you happy, such as like, oh, here's a tree in my background. I like this. This makes me feel happy. Let me look at it for a few moments, and then positive feelings start to develop. And once I'm done with that and I have nice positive things, shift to another thing off there, like, oh, look at that nice sky. And you just keep on staring at different things in your environment at the moment that make you happy. And so this is referred to as rampage of appreciation. That's a pretty good technique with thought transitions. Another process that could be helpful of thoughts and transitioning to more believable thoughts is a focus wheel process. That's going to be on the internet too, much like if I give it a name, it's probably on the internet. It's when you have any believable thought, whether negative or positive, and you just keep transitioning it to a slightly better feeling thought, or getting more broad so it feels better and better, till eventually you can believe this totally opposite thought. So for instance, I had this bad thought for the I'm ugly, whatever. So the opposite of that would be I look great. But if I say that in the moment of this negative feeling, I'm not going to be able to believe, oh, I look great today, whatever. So I'm going to have to use this focus wheel process and transition from slightly less negative or better feeling thoughts. Example, this would be I'm ugly is the original thought, right? So then you have everyone has flaws. Okay, that kind of feels better, and then it's just a thought, but I'm past that now. I'm moving on to different thoughts. That would be somewhat better feeling thought. And I love how I look in this outfit. That's more broad and better feeling. Okay. And then I'm in great shape, at least I have my weight going for me, or whatever. That's more specific, and then eventually get to the point where you can say I look great after you go through all these positive things about your topic. you can eventually inch your way into that goal you wanted to be at. All right. Another thing is, if you're in a negative situation, a lot of times you can find a positive in that situation. So just try to distract yourself with as many positive things as possible, and avoid the triggers if you can, such as like if the compulsion is looking in the mirror, washing your hands, whatever. Those are typical physical. That's a typical physical thing to do for a person with a disorder. When I would look in the mirror, it would just be like I would either blur my vision or not look in the mirror at all, right? Because those would be triggers. Or I would just focus on things I like I like these 2 piercings I got right here. I would just be like, oh, look at that piercing right here, huh? That's pretty cool. Or, look how long my hair is. It's cool too. I would just look for the positive in the situation and try and stop the compulsion by avoiding it, or just mutating it a bit to be more of a positive aspect, like I said. Also, another thing for going into softer, better thoughts is you can praise every single thought that is positive, or every negative thought you overcome. So, for instance, if I'm like, if I did happen to see my piercing today and admire it, I'd be like, hey, look, that's pretty cool, Alex. You're doing good with having positive thoughts. I'm praising myself for every time I succeed, or like if I created something, some song, whatever, or listen to my own song, and like, hey, that's a pretty good song. Oh, look at that thought. That was a pretty good thought too. I'm good at having all these abundant, great, positive thoughts. And then as far as the being able to overcome negative thoughts, praising yourself for that. So an example would be like, crap, I spilled ketchup on my pants or whatever, right? And then you're like, whatever. It didn't make that big of a difference to you. So you're able to blow it off easily and be like, hey, look, I blew that thought off. That's pretty cool. Or, my hair is greasy. It could be washed today, huh? Oh, well, it doesn't really matter to me because I don't find that too important. And then it just fades off. And then you can congratulate yourself, hey, I was able to overcome that. There's just a lot of thoughts you're able to ignore in a day. Such as like, oh, that traffic was annoying, but it doesn't really matter that much to me. Hey, look. And then just tell yourself stuff like, good job, or I overcame that, or I overcame a lot of thoughts today. In fact, I'm really good at ignoring thoughts. I'm getting better every day. This isn't so bad. I'm not so sensitive to emotions and thoughts like I thought I was. I'm actually pretty good at doing this, right? So just keep telling yourself these things and feel great and proud of yourself for making all this progress, and keep telling yourself that. Basically, this is all going to be good affirmations that retrain your thought processes, and they amplify your successes so that you keep on drawing more and more successes, and it becomes easier for your brain to understand how it actually works and functions when it overcomes thoughts and forgets about them, and it encourages it to keep doing that. So you're just retraining your neural pathways pretty much. There's a lot of processes I listen in this whole getting softer thoughts and sliding up the emotional spectrum process. Whichever one resonates most with you, go ahead, try it. Try it for a day or two. It doesn't have to be like some freaking long, strenuous week thing. Just see what happens. The third step, meditation. So the goal is to understand how to blank your mind at will. This is what people do normally when they have negative thoughts. They just forget about it and blank their mind, or move on to some different thought that is more distracting, right? So you want to understand how to blank your mind. Meditation is going to help you do this, because meditation is all about blanking your mind. So to train yourself to do this, you would start meditating every day. For you can do 5 or 10 minutes, whatever is easy for you. Just sit there with your generic pose, cross-legged, sitting up, laying down, whatever's comfortable. Pay attention to your breath. slowly and make sure your mind is empty. If it drifts into a thought, then you just go back into your breath, all calm like, right? Until you can just be blank again, not paying attention to anything. Enjoy it. You might feel like pressure in your forehead because you're actually working out your brain. It's learning how to control itself better, mostly the front portion of your brain, so you might feel an exercise there, which is a good thing. That means you're getting better at controlling your emotions and your willpower, which is exactly what you need. Alright, and so your goal is to decide your stance on your negative thought for once and for all, right? So my stance for, self-esteem and my physical aspects, I would believe that I look great, right? And I know I have counter feelings about this sometimes because of my obsession thoughts, but that's it. For once and for all, I'm choosing to believe that I look great, and all those other thoughts are deceptive emotions, like a bad ex-girlfriend, whatever. But I'll get over her and I'll learn to see things correctly and not blind, because I know the truth is that I look good. I just have to spend some time away from, these negative thoughts. So decide that once and for all. Don't think about it any longer. If you pray about it, don't even continuously pray about it. Just pray about it once and release it. Trust. Have faith that it'll fix itself. Right. Just don't keep reminding yourself about bad things, otherwise it's going to stay in there and linger. So just decide your stance once and for all about your thought or obsession. And then if you ever have any positive logical frames of mind where you're in again, you can reaffirm that positive belief if it's believable, right? That's good too. But typically don't think about it. Don't think about what your opinions are on your obsessions. Just learn to blank your mind, right? Let the problem fade away, and then your mind will be so used to ignoring it. And this is my piercing, by the way. I don't know if it looks like a booger or whatever. It's not. Right, so, what you want to do throughout the day, if you're just used to having this negativity, is just this kind of Eckhart Tolle meditation thing he talked about in his book, The Power of Now. He said that you should just feel the life force going through your body, right, while you're going throughout the day. So pretty much focus on any sensations inside your body, like tingling or whatever, imagining yourself having a life force flowing through it, kind of like blood or whatever, throughout your whole day. So paying attention and being present in the moment while thoughts are going to, whenever you sense a negative emotion starting to cross into your mind, just start to go back into your meditative blank mind and go throughout your day half meditating, half paying attention to your, present moment. As you're going through the day, focusing on your life force energy through your body and blanking your mind whenever negative emotions come, you'll have good practice on just being able to stay clear-headed and focused as well. Then I guess step 4 would be daily life habits being changed. So that doesn't really require a bunch of time throughout your day. The only thing you're really having to do extra in your day that you weren't doing before is the meditation, which is like 5 or 10 minutes a day, and that's going to make your brain stronger and easier to think what it wants to think, right? And so the other things are pretty easy, such as getting a good diet, good sleep, and cold showers, right? Those things you're already doing a form of that already. So as far as diet, there's lots of cheap vegetable packs that are like $1 or whatever. It's around that much, and that would be just like a lunch. So just get your veggies every day. Just have one for every day, or at least 5 days out of the week, something like that. Whatever. Do what you can with what you got. And then I would eat. So for instance, I would eat one of those for lunch, as well as a banana or apples. Those are pretty cheap. or even like oranges. So just have like one fruit and one vegetable pack a day. If you're worried about money or ignorance, not knowing how to pull off a somewhat healthy diet, right? Avoid snacks and sodas, things like that if you can, as much as you can. Substitute it with water. Water is pretty cheap, you know, you can get that stuff from your faucet. Right, and good snacks, honestly, to supplement would be like peanut butter and jelly sandwich where you're using whole wheat bread, something like less sugary peanut butter, more natural fruit-based jellies, right? And Greek yogurt, more healthy yogurt kind of stuff. Those are good snacks, or nuts, honey-coated nuts, or assorted kind of nuts. Right, that have salt on them, so it's not too plain. Those are snacks too. Then a lot of other times I just eat pasta, so just choose like some red sauce that isn't as bad, and get some whole wheat pasta or something like that. Right, those are just ideas I have. And then juice is pretty good too. Apple juice is pretty cheap, and it's probably, I don't know if it's like the best as far as other juices, but yeah, those are ideas for supplementing your current diet. It's not that hard and not too expensive. And then getting good sleep. Just go to sleep when you want to. Take naps frequently, only to the point of where you're energized, not to the point of where you're lethargic and groggy. Right, and cold showers is another thing that actually helps depressed people, and helps you, take away your stress psychologically and become more happier. As well as strengthens your immune system, promotes circulation, and gives you energy throughout the day so that you're able to accomplish more. So it's honestly, it takes less time than you normally would during a shower, because you're not going to want to stay in there forever. It doesn't have to be ice cold either. Just make it so it's, you know, cold enough to where your breath is starting to hesitate to be calm, right? So just a little bit, like just enough. And then you want to focus on your breath, slowly in and slowly out, so that you actually get to the point where you can ignore the fact that it's cold. And this just gets your blood flowing and can actually create very positive side effects for your mental health as well. So just try that once and see if you like it. And if you do, it doesn't have to be every day. It could just be like every time you need energy, like you go to work 5 times a day, 5 times a week. I mean, take cold showers. The other 2 take warm. Whatever. It's just an experiment. It doesn't have to be extremely uncomfortable if you don't want it to. And yeah, I think that's all. Yeah, those are the daily life habits. So just to sum it all up, the first step was to frame your identity. Second step was to slide up the emotional spectrum with softer thoughts. Third step was learning to meditate and blank out your mind and be present. And the fourth step was changing your daily life habits. You know, different habits. I hope that helps. It definitely helped me, and it was less steps than I usually would list in one of these videos. I know I have other videos where I go over like all these things that helped me, but I do believe I'm healed from OCD. I wouldn't want to identify with that, especially not as like a freaking reoccurring thing. It's just like so part of the past. I know I've had it multiple times for long periods in my life, so hopefully what I have to offer you for advice might resonate or help some of y'all. That's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I love y'all. Peace. Check out my music.